right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the House right now. You know, we're kicking off our campaign season for the political process, and we have what we call our political forum, where we allow candidates the opportunity to come and share their platforms with you, the listeners, and the possible voters for them in the upcoming May 2017 election. I think it's May the 6th or May 5th is the election. So we thought, if, as we normally do every year, that if we give the candidates an opportunity to come to the Breeze radio station and share their platform and their ideas with you, you have a better feel of who these candidates are and if you want to vote for them. We have some incumbents who are running again and some newcomers. So we hope that you get a chance to listen to some of these folks and make up your own mind about who you need to vote for to better move the city of Port Arthur forward in a positive direction for the benefits of all taxpaying citizens of the city of Port Arthur. And in the studio we have this morning Mr. Harold Doucette, who's a former city councilman and also does a radio show here at the Breeze radio station, but we will not take, we'll not allow any pity on him either. Good morning, former councilman. How you doing, Harold Doucette?
I'm doing fine. Good morning, everybody. And it's good to be in the studio and not in the hot seat, but in the good seat.
Oh, you don't call that the hot seat?
No. The hot seat is where you at. You know, you're responsible for everything, and everybody come at you from that seat. So it's the hot seat.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I'll take the cold seat this morning. But
well, we're glad that you got a chance to sign up. Like you said, you know, we've been announcing all week that we've had it available for all candidates with city and school board elections, and so far we've only had 4 candidates who've decided to come out and share in this process. We don't knock them. It's just it's kind of strange for folk not want to take this opportunity since they want to be public citizens and do what they need to do for the citizens, and that is allow the citizens to hear what they have to say.
Well, you know, a lot of people over time have not appeared here at the Breeze, and I think a lot of that is because in most of the forums that they conduct here in the city, they ask specific questions, and then they give you like a minute or two to respond. The question that they select a question that people write down, and they look at them and they select the ones they want to ask. But it doesn't give a candidate to rebuttal what a candidate may say. And no one knows who asked the question or what, even if someone wrote the question down. However, here at the Breeze, I think what they understand is that a lot of people call in because they follow the show. And if they follow the show, they understand something about government because we constantly talking, which it's your city, and also Tejas has a show where we talk about things happening here in the city, so they could pretty much be abreast and get a down home feeling of what should be going, what is happening. So when you come before a forum like this, people call in. Well, that's not a controlled question. That's not a selected question, and not only that, but that's someone that's calling you and asking you something that is strictly in their interest or what they're concerned about, and they would like to know how you feel about that so that they can cast their vote accordingly. So this environment is not a good environment for a person who's not knowledgeable about municipal government or have a good feel for how to fix some of our problems here, because some of the questions that come over the air will handcuff them and they'll think they're going to jail.
And then, you know, too, from some of that, a lot of times people think that we, like the Breeze, do setup calls. So we have people on the sideline waiting with a trick question to try to catch folk. We don't have to do this. Like you said, you got folks who are sitting in the comfort of their own home worldwide. Some people out there who don't live in Port Arthur anymore, they still want to know what's going on and what's going to happen in Port Arthur. So if they choose to come back, they have some kind of idea who's doing what in government, and maybe even if they choose to run for government themselves if they come back.
Well, you know, when you talk about it, people out there calling in ask questions. Well, look at it this way. How can it be a trick question when it's asked of everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody got to answer the same question. And either you know the answer and you know how to respond, or you don't. It only become a trick question to you if you feel you don't have the answer or you can't respond to it. And there's no question whereby someone running for office, if you're running for office, you ought to have a pretty good idea on some of the issues facing the city, and you should have solutions. You can't just say, I'm going to fix, okay, that's been the problem. Everybody been talking about what they're going to do, but they can't do it because they don't understand government. And what I tell people constantly when I do the show and to keep people informed, that's a stone giveaway of a candidate. When you hear a candidate say, I promise you, or I'm going to, that individual does not understand. It takes the majority to get anything done. So when they say, I'm going to, or if you elect me, I'm going to get this, or I guarantee this, or, that's the first indication this person don't know what they're talking about, doesn't know how the system works. If you don't know how the system works, how can you possibly be part of it and fix anything?
Okay. I think from this point, what we do with a quick opening and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to run for political office for the seat of District 4, council seat of District 4.
Okay. Well, as I stated, and some haven't known, I'm 1968 graduate of Lincoln High School. I bleed purple and gold, and that's not the Lakers. I spent 30 years in the United States Army, retired Command Sergeant Major.
Bumblebee.
Always. I'm married. Miss Betty Gordon Doucette, and we have 2 kids. And I'm running for the office because we have issues here in the city, and a lot of the issues we have is because we have individuals, both staff, employees, who doesn't necessarily know their job or exactly how it should be done. But the council is who we elect to oversee all of this and to be our voice and our vote. And in order to be our vote and our voice and oversee it, you have to have a basic knowledge of it and how it works. So a lot of time, a person that's running for an elected position, as one person say, may not know how municipal government works, but will they be willing to put in the time to constantly research and learn and attend conferences where they actually attend sessions, take notes, and learn how things are done in order to be successful, and bring that knowledge back and apply it. Having the knowledge and not applying it is no better than not having it at all. So we have to have people who understand this and how to move the city forward. And if you apply yourself and you prepare yourself and you do the research and know where to go, you can always come up with information that the council, staff, and everybody will be able to listen to. The problem we have is you have council members who don't want to learn what is the right way to do it or what we should be doing. We have council members who feel we are the council. Whatever we decide, we can do. Whatever council says we can do, we can do. And there be instances where they have made decisions that if they were to be investigated, you'll find out that they'll be held liable for acting outside their official capacity because those are things that they should know. And that when you talk about people character running for office, I spent 30 years in the Army, and people say, "Oh, he too military. Oh, he's by the book. You know, he's too hard." All of these are descriptions of individuals who have learned to be fair, impartial, a person who has integrity, a person who is honest, a person who can make decisions and stand by their decisions. You know, we have people running around and they feel the way to be successful is everybody like you. So everybody they see, they want to smile, laugh, joke. But when they're taking care of business, they have this same character. And that character won't get things fixed. So what I want to do is talk about some of the issues here that I have on my platform. And since I have more than a minute to respond, I want to make sure that people understand what's my solution to it. You know, some of the issues we hear every year when it comes election time, and I think the most prominent is streets. We've been hearing I've been paying attention for about 10 years about streets. And we talked about it on different occasions. Well, here's the deal with streets. We have so many streets that are in harsh conditions that it's going to take a lot of money and time to fix them. However, we're at a state where we can't depend on getting money every year to put into streets and expect to fix it, because we'll be like chasing our tails because we'll only fix so many a year, but then we'll have those many will come on the list as needing to be fixed. So what you have to do, you have to address this in the form of a capital improvement program. Now, that's what people should know. If you want to run for office, if you want to fix these problems, you got to know what is available to cities to fix a problem of this magnitude, first of all. Then you have to also know what are the resources, what you're going to need. So with streets, the only way this city will ever address the streets and the water line is through a bond.
Well, there are senior council members on council right now. What is it you think that they don't see, or maybe some council members who are trying to get it passed, but they're not getting support that they need to move this issue towards a bond? Because it looks like that is the answer.
Yes, well, I've observed it from the time I got on, and when I got on council the first time, every time I got a chance, I say, we can't do it unless we do a bond, a bond, a bond. But what we have is, this city has been having a group of council members, no matter who it is, when they run for office, council members go and want to be allied with them, help them to get elected. And then when they are elected, they want them to vote and support what they want or do like they do. So the majority of the council members have 5 to 10 year period, or longer if you want, but that's normally what they range, 5 to 10. But you have a plan on how much money that it's going to cost you to do this. And what you do is, most of the capital improvement programs, you use a bond because it requires large funding, or it may require large funding but not enough that you could not repay in 2-3 years. So you may go and get what they call a loan, a low-interest loan. Okay, so there are different ways and different ways we could fund these type things. So for our streets, if anyone feel these streets will be fixed without doing a bond and having a capital improvement program, we'll be doing what we've been doing for the last 10, 15 years. We gonna fix it. It's gonna take time, and it's gonna require a lot of money. How long can you say that? But you have to know, if you want to address it, how to do it. Look at the school district. When all these schools became in disarray, they didn't say, well, look, we're going to try to save money this year, and then we could maybe renovate this one, or we could build part of this one, and then next year the school district went out and got a bond. They went out and got a $195 million bond. Look, the port. The port says, we got to expand. You know, business is going to be coming this way. They didn't go out and say, well, look, we're going to try to build part of it this year, part of it that year, because it takes a lot of money. They passed the bond. But here's the thing. The port bond, $89.5 million, it raised your taxes for the port. So we raising taxes to expand the port, and we need it now. I'm not against it. I voted for it because we need it.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, the Port Authority knew what it takes to get that done. The school district knew the only way we're going to get new schools, we need to pass a bond. So what part of our elected officials that have not registered that you're not going to fix streets and water line unless you do a bond? And they got to understand a bond doesn't necessarily have to be one in which you raise taxes. You just have to be able to identify how the money, where's the money going to come from for the repayment of the bond. And the other thing is, we do the bond so that we can know for a fact that whatever we do this year, the money was there to pay for it, and we just keep working so that the money is always available, because you do not sell all the bonds at one time. You could sell them as needed in order to do the job. But you have to be able to know how to approach it and how you got to go about to take that, to solve that problem. So the bond is the way to go. And not only that, until then, this problem will continue to exist because we have people who don't really understand the magnitude of what they're responsible for. It's no excuse for the streets to be the way they are. We should have a complaint about streets in our city, but the complaint should be, I can't drive nowhere. They fixing these streets everywhere I go. Look like they fixing streets. I got to go here, go there. That's the complaint that we need to move toward. Now that's pertaining to streets, and water line can be dealt with in the same fashion, with the exception that you determine where the most leaks are first and start replacing those. But once again, you're going to need money. So when you start, you are continuously working to get it where you can control it.
All right. Well, let me do this. For those who would like to call and ask questions, the number is area code 409-982-0247 if you'd like to call and ask a question or you had a comment to former Councilman Harold Doucette, who's campaigning for the position of District 4. Now, I know there was a forum that happened the other night with the Deltas having a forum, and a strange question came that I heard. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. For those folk who weren't there, I'm going to try to pose the question the way I think I understood it was about, not redistricting, it was bringing in another city or other cities.
Annexation?
Annexation.
Oh.
Can you guys share, we have, folks, we also have Councilman Raymond Scott, who is with us today, and also candidate Kevin Christopher is in the studio now. So we may just mend these three interviews together since they're all here at the same time. That way we could give everybody a chance to get an involved discussion on this, and you're welcome to call and talk to either of the candidates, Kevin Christopher, Raymond Scott, and Harold Doucette. Now, and thank you for joining us, guys. We're going to bring you all in here in just a minute. But on the business, and Mr. Doucette, on the business of the annexation, you just talked about a problem with having a problem with a bond issue trying to fix streets. Now, when I think about someone saying, "Do you support that?" I don't know if you do or not. I don't know what your answer was, but maybe you can share that. But my first thought would be, where did the question come from? It must be somebody that's talking about it, and who would want to support the annexation of other cities when we can't take care of our own city? And there are other questions under that are underlined, I think, that I have, and maybe I could share that later. But what's your first thought on what did you support that? Annexing other cities like Grove, Port Neches, or Nederland, or wherever the annexation is going to go?
The question was really directed toward the industries and refinery, not cities.
I see.
Okay, it was, do the candidates support annexing industry?
Industry.
Okay, and the majority of the candidates said no, and when they gave their explanation why, you could see why they did not support it, and the rationale. Those that were in support of it, if you listen to what they were saying, you will know that they didn't have a good grasp on the impact of what will result in it. I take a look at the annexation of industry. First of all, when we receive taxes from industry, the taxes are in lieu of tax agreement. What that means is that we're not charging them 100% taxes as we do citizens. Now, for the citizens and candidates who talks about, and we had a candidate that said we need to get all our taxes, and we've been overlooked so long, and we need our due. They don't understand the term in lieu of tax agreement as opposed to tax. Now, when they do in lieu of tax agreement, that means we're going to receive tax from them. Now, citizen says, why do I pay 100% taxes, but they don't have to pay 100%? They need to pay what I pay. Well, citizens need to understand, we pick up your garbage for a fee. We provide you service. If your house catch on fire, we send a fire department out there.
Yes.
It don't cost you. We have police to answer your calls. So we provide you certain services and protection. So we serve and protect you. And we do that with the taxes you pay us out of your tax money. But we don't do that for industry. So it's hard to say you're going to tell industry you pay 100%, but we're not going to do nothing for you. So because the government understand that you're not providing these services to industry, that's why they came up with in lieu of tax, an agreement whereby you will pay a percentage of taxes. Now, when we talk about making them pay 100%, then you're basically annexing them. You're bringing them into your city, and you're now going to put them under the same status as citizens.
Yes.
But then you got to start providing services. Okay? Now, when you start talking about that, the first thing any candidate or citizen or current council member need to understand, if you are struggling right now to provide citizens their service, such as picking up trash, or in some cases we got fire hydrants that don't work.
Yes.
And you go out and house a fire, you can't even get water from this one. So that's time involved. That's the difference. You saving somebody's home and possessions,
yes,
as opposed to them losing it. Or that's the difference between life and death. You getting somebody out and somebody dying. So these are things that you have to understand.
Basic service.
That's right. You know, these are things that we don't do for them, and we are having a problem with ours, with garbage and trash service, which seem to be the biggest complaint now. And we bought like 2 sets of trucks in the last 7 years, 6, 7 years. Well, 5 years. So that's telling us that we have a serious problem of maintaining our equipment. They're quick to use the taxpayers' dollars to purchase it, but once you got it, what are you doing to try to get the maximum use out of it with life? Well, that goes to who you elect. If you have individuals that understand that you just can't buy it and drive it and dog it and don't take care of it, this is what we're going to find ourselves in, having the same problem reoccurring every 2 years. All of a sudden, we start with trash problems again.
But then if you got industry tied involved, this is a very serious problem then.
Well, that's the time when
it's a big industry and there's a lot more involvement with people, time, and equipment.
Sure. Well, the fire department predicts that they'll have to establish 2 new fire stations.
Oh my goodness!
And if you're gonna do a fire station, you got to get a fire engine to go in it, equipment and people. And the police department is going to have to ramp up. So you're talking about taking on responsibilities that right now we're struggling to do just for our citizens. So what we need to do is keep it to a pace or get it to a level whereby we can start working this in and getting it going. And we need, as citizens need to understand your idea of how it works. If you really take the time or you talk to someone who can explain it to you, you will understand some of the things and some of the advantage and disadvantage. Now, that may be a disadvantage of you losing a few $1 million for not getting 100%. But you got to look at, if you get those, what it's going to cost you in the long run. You got to be able to understand that what's in the best interest for us. Because what do we really want from industry? We ain't giving them no service. Guess what we want? We want jobs. Mm-hmm. But the only leverage you have now is that little tax.
Little cushion.
Yeah, that's a leverage.
Yes.
You can always say, if you want to continue to get this little reduction, then you need to work with us and you need to say that we get jobs. Now, if you don't get that leverage, you could pay this, you start getting this amount of money, but what is it going to cost you on the downside? If you can't handle it for your citizens, how can you have responsibility of taking care of industry also? And if you drop the ball on industry, are they going to be like citizens, just sit back and accept it? I doubt it.
I doubt it. We'll leave it right there with former Councilman Harold Doucette, who is running for District 4, and we'll bring in 2 of our other panelists, Kevin Christopher and Councilman Raymond Scott Jr. in just a minute. You're on the Breeze Radio Station, the new 96.9 KSAP on your FM dial. We'll be right back. Panel in here, actually in addition to the panel with former Councilman Harold Doucette, we have Mr. Kevin Christopher, who is a candidate for position 8, and also Councilman Raymond Scott Jr.
Good morning.
And so we'll continue on with the discussion. But what we'd like to do is, Mr. Christopher, we certainly appreciate you coming in and visiting with us here today. And Councilman Scott, I know you guys are busy taking care of business, but we certainly thank you for coming in today. I think we've always felt like the citizens need an opportunity to talk with their candidates or to just find out what's going on. Because that's all people just want to know what's happening. They want to know, what do you stand for? What do you don't stand for? What do you think should happen? What shouldn't happen? So we can move the city forward. But in the meantime, we'll just let Mr. Christopher, Kevin, you can give us a little bit of who you are, a little bit about your platform, why you chose to run for city council. Because you and I had spoke sometime before, and you were saying things need to change. So maybe you can let us know a little bit about yourself and why you're running for council.
Right. Well, mine is fairly simple. I'm running to basically because I want to change the lives of people in the city and change the quality of the lives of the people in the city. And this may sound like a slogan, but my platform is actually efficient and effective government. And like I say, that in itself is a platform. Having worked for the city of Port Arthur for 5 years as the fleet manager, in charge of all the fleet, everything except police cars. I mean, we had a centralized program. So we handle everything, equipment, trucks, all the vehicles, everything came through the shop. And it was decided whether or not it was going to be repaired in-house or outside. And we took care of the level of repair. We maintained everything.
So what was it that just kind of tipped the scale for you and say, I got to run?
You know, I had been contemplating this decision for 3 years. It didn't seem like the time was right. I've actually got a 2,500 cards for seat 8 for the last time, and didn't do anything with them.
Wow.
Yeah. So this time around, I think what actually did it for me was listening to the complaints of my fellow ex-co-workers, listening to the citizens' complaints, seeing all the things that were going on. Since I've been gone, they bought 2 fleets of garbage trucks, and they should have lasted between 8 and 10 years.
What do you think the deal was with that? I mean, that they knew it, so they certainly should have been well built.
It's not the bill; it's that they weren't properly maintained, and you know, you can't blame you can't really blame the employees. You can't blame the garage. You can't blame the operators. It's a management decision that they didn't properly staff the shop. You know, they made a decision in 2010 to cut that position, and that position has been vacant ever since 2010. And that vacant position has cost the city millions of dollars. I can't even tell you how many millions of dollars that decision's cost the taxpayers.
Wow.
In fleet replacement, and in repairs, and in tow bills, and and again, like I said, that's not the garage's fault. That's not the operator's fault. That's an upper level management decision to not fully staff that garage.
Okay. Well, let's move to Councilman Scott. Councilman Raymond Scott Jr. is in the house. And folks, the number is area code 409-982-0247 if you'd like to ask a question or have a comment. 409-982-0247. We'll open the phone lines after Councilman Scott shares with us. Good morning, Councilman. How are you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Fine. I know you've done a lot of work. You've been on council for a minute, like the young folks say. Yeah, and you've been fighting the good fight, like most folks would say, because you don't survive these elections unless you're doing something right, I guess, you know. So I know a lot of these some pet peeves that we've been talking about, streets and things like that. What do you think is the big issue for you at this time right now? I know you're running for re-election, and so you got to kind of, like most folk, got an uphill struggle. Maybe you don't, but most folk would say most candidates do being incumbents.
The big thing that's come first with me is what the citizens we can constantly talking about, and that is streets, you know, our infrastructure, and I really it's very easy for me to come to a conclusion because that's all I've heard. So we're trying to hear Councilman Doucette, former Councilman Doucette speak early, and our infrastructure is very important, but we're going to have to take care of that with a bond issue. I'm agreeable with that because that's something I've always, on the council, talked about also. But then again, you have to commit a certain amount of money to pay the bonds. And that's what we haven't had, is someone willing to commit to the amount of money that we can pay for bonds. And when we commit to that, instead of saying we're going to get something done in 20 years, you know, when I came on council 6 years ago, they was talking about a 20-year plan. When I was on council with you, it was a 20-year plan. We got to get off this 20-year plan.
I was on Doucette, it's a 20-year
plan. So we got to get off this 20-year plan and really go for a bond issue, so we can show these citizens that hey, the work will be done, and they can see the results very early. You know, we got senior citizens turning around telling me, I want to be around when they fix these streets.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you need to get it done through a bond issue.
So let me ask you this. So is not that the taxpayers are not willing to sacrifice the money that's going to be needed to do the streets? Would you say this is the council, majority of council, who decided they want to do this plan instead of do a one-shot plan like former Councilman Dew said? It's kind of saying that the one-shot plan is the bond, and that seemed to be the only way to get it all done in an express period of time with a specific kind of money, and that's something that a bond would do. Would you say is the majority of council who don't seem to get it?
Well, Steve, again, it takes the council to vote.
Got to get 5 votes. You got to get 5 votes.
You know the way the calculation is, 5 votes. So I'm not going to sit here and point out certain council members, but we need the votes. And the people have seen the meetings, have seen people who been about this bond issue of getting streets done. So they know who are interested in getting this done that way. And it's going to take 5 votes again, like I said again. It's going to take 5 votes.
Now, I know streets is a really hot item, but as we all know, it's kind of like with the President of the United States. His taxes is a hot item, but there are a lot of other things that's going on. You know, there's the war, possible war with North Korea. You know, there's Japan and China and South Korea who is involved in this mess in that area. There are some folks who have been involved in possible Russian ties. So there's a lot of irons in the fire. So what are some of the things you'll see here in the city other than just streets that are hot items? Kevin?
You know, we've got residents that are dealing with flood issues.
Flood issues.
We've got residents that actually have raw sewage in their showers anytime we have a heavy rain. You know, it's like 2 or 3 times a year. This gentleman told me that he has to deal with that. He's so desperate, he would be willing to pay extra fees per month if the city would just fix his problem. That's what you call desperate.
Wow.
Yeah, but this is why I'm running on this efficient and effective government, and that's where the other council members come in. You see, it's if we get the inside right, then my fellow council members will be able to do the things that they need to do in order to have the money to do what they need to do.
All right, got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the Breeze radio station. Good morning. Go with your call.
How many of the candidates showed up for today to the city forum?
Well, we have Kevin Christopher, who is campaigning for position 8. Councilman Ronald Scott Jr. is District 1. Former Councilman Howard Doucette is District 4. And on tomorrow's schedule is Dr. Thomas Kinlaw, District 3. That's all. We had 5 days of scheduling, and these gentlemen were the only gentlemen who chose to come in.
So all the candidates were invited to participate, but only those 3 agreed to?
All the ones that we were able to get numbers for and contact ourselves. I did most of the calling myself, and some of our staff members talked with some of the other candidates, and many of them we know have friends and neighbors who may listen to this radio station and probably told them. So, you know, we can only do so much, caller.
Okay, so in other words, those that did not show up today more than likely was aware of, but did not show up. And they know that the audience, the entire audience that's listening to this, are African Americans.
I can't say that for sure, but I can tell you, I looked on the internet this morning and looked around some sites, and we've got some listeners in some places. I was surprised. But as far as countries,
I certainly would like to ask Councilman Mosley why was she helping the squatty guy get rid of Councilman Bay Lewis last year. She and her husband both, because I saw them at the poll passing out leaflets and asking people to vote against Bay Lewis.
Well,
I want to know what makes her think she's a qualified candidate to try to get rid of someone who has put his time and everything else on the line to help improve the quality of life here, because she wanted to help somebody who's not even from this area, who just got here and think he can run annexation. I'd like to ask her exactly what's her intention as a councilman. So, does she have any intention of coming to any kind of forum with an African-American audience or listening to what she has to say? Because they need to hear her. They need to know exactly what type of person she is.
Okay, Colonel, well, we would like to accommodate you with that, but she's not here.
And I would like to ask Councilman Tiffany Hamilton, where did she get off of saying the reason why these refineries and other industries here are not hiring African Americans is because of domestic violence?
Because
I've heard of a lot of things, but this is the most dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
wait a minute, I don't want to elaborate on that, but you said the reason why they're not hiring African American men in the refineries is because of domestic violence?
Exactly. Domestic violence a question was asked of the Delta Sigma Theta forum the other night. What are you doing, or why is it that these businesses here are not hiring local unemployed people? And her response is because of domestic violence.
Wow.
I mean, if this girl has any kind of college degree, common sense gonna tell her that, she needs to really throw it away.
Okay, well, let me ask this, Colonel. We've got three panelists here, Kevin Christopher, Councilman Raymond Scott Jr., and former Councilman Harold Doucette. Is there a question or comment you'd like to pose to these gentlemen since they're here?
Well, I was impressed with everything I heard that they had to say. Every answer that they responded to, and of course they carefully selected these questions they asked the other night, because the questions that were asked of them the other night wasn't hardcore questions that the citizens of Florida really need to know about and need to know exactly what direction our city is going into.
Okay.
But you can only get what, the level of mentality of the people that's running the show.
And then, too, like former Councilman Harold Doucette indicated, sometimes in those types of programs, they don't have a lot of time, so they can't really get off into an answer that would best serve the citizens because they can't seem to, put it all together in a short period of time, in a time frame that's allotted.
Yeah, I agree, but I was very impressed with Ron, Mr. Doucette's answer, and I was very, very impressed with Mr. Kevin's answer. So a lot of things.
Kevin Christopher?
He should have been out there 5 or 6, 10 years ago that people know he's intending on running for office.
Okay, well, we got, if you have no other comment or question, we certainly appreciate
And
you.
as for Mr. Scott, I don't know anything he's ever done that was wrong. He has always been there for the people. So I will always compliment him and recommend him.
Well, I'm sure he'd probably have a comment to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla.
Short and sweet. Thank you for your call, Carl. Appreciate you listening to The Breeze. Who's that?
What the callers call in reference to that so that the people can understand. I look at the forum she talked about, and when we talked about streets, one of the response from candidates was in reference to wanting to do toll roads and charge taxes on the streets, people going to refineries. That's the thing that we're talking about here when we say candidates need to be able to understand what they're going to undertake and what they're saying, because to talk about taxing state highways,
Yes.
a candidate doesn't understand. Municipal counties don't cover state highways. They're governed by the state.
All right, let's take the call. Call you on the Breeze radio station. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Let's keep it real. Now, you got some of these council members, some of them really people, the citizens pay out to vote for, but once they in city hall, they don't do what they're supposed to do. So how the citizens throw other people to trust them?
Well, you got to start someplace, and you have to give folks a chance who made the appeal. And the other thing is, you have to kind of do your homework. You follow what I'm saying? In other words, if I'm running for public office, you need to do as much as you can as an individual to learn as much as you can about me, so you can see through my bull stuff. So I can't fool you with my rhetoric. I run streets. I want that if I have never said anything to that effect. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So you have a responsibility as much as the candidate, because a lot of times candidates don't put anything out there it takes to get elected. But it's your job to make sure that you can see through the smoke. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you have a comment or question for? Well, Councilman Scott has a comment.
Well, Mr. Moses, again, being that I've been on council for 6 years, you can only judge a person by his record. And my record has been about the people. You need to make sure that you come to meetings, look at these meetings, and look at who's standing for what. You know what I mean? If you find out what people are standing for and who has personal agendas, then you can figure out which way you should go and who you should put on council. And that's one of the things I've tried to make sure that citizens understand our process and procedures that's in place. And participation is very important. Mm-hmm. And you can do your homework by participating and finding out who stands for what, listening to who stands for what. Dr. King says, true peace is not merely the absolute tension, but the presence of justice.
How about that?
A lot of times they talk about the hooping and hollering. Let's not be concerned about how we disagree, but what we disagree on. And what we disagree on will prove who stands for justice and who just has a personal agenda.
Wow. You okay with that call, or you had a comment or question for any of the candidates that are in the studio today?
I'm fine. I understand what he was saying, but we just want the people to do the right thing for Port Arthur. That's all.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We want people who are going to do what's right for the citizens. That's what it's all about. All right. Thank you for your call. Appreciate you calling.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so I was going to ask, because I know this may not ever come out, but Councilman Scott, you've been on council a while, and so you've been on council since the time of the forensic audit, and I'll throw the question to pose it on the floor. What is it? What's the position of the forensic audit? What do you think should happen? Are we there yet? We've heard it. The city manager's been here several times. The callers been calling in about that. They said the callers want to know what's going on, what's going to happen. In your thoughts?
Well, to my knowledge, now they're in the second stage of this forensic audit. They're supposed to be bringing us something in May, the results in May. So when we get the results, the city council will look at it, we'll review it, they bring the information to us, and then a determination about certain issues or certain things that have occurred will be discussed with the city council, and then it'll be shared with the public.
Mr. Knudsen, I know you were kind of like on the front end of the forensic audit deal at the time. Do you see this being the result of something that should help to move the city forward once this is done once and for all?
Yes, most definitely, because the forensic audit was more than just an audit. It was an in-depth audit, and it was targeted into areas that council felt that we need to look at. So quite naturally, when we get this back, it will be an in-depth audit, and they will identify everything that possibly could be identified. So the city will know where we stand, what we done wrong, what we need to take a look at. So if we take the forensic audit and correct and understand what we're doing wrong and do it right, then the money you spend on a forensic audit will be like a drop in the bucket to what the money you will save down the road. So this is something that we will benefit greatly by. Everybody talking about it ain't nothing major. How can you say something is not major if it's not properly managing and appropriating taxpayers' money?
Now, wait a minute, it's not nothing major. Wasn't that some $4 or $5 million that was missing, or lost, or misappropriated, or something? Because I know when I was there, that's what we were trying to figure out, what happened to the money, because at the end of a budget cycle, it looks like we were taking money from someplace to cover for money somewhere else. Councilman Scott?
Well, this is one thing that we've tried to push when we was on council: performance budgeting. Okay, in performance budgeting, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
Performance-based budgeting.
Yes, because we would know where we stand financially. This is something that we did not know where we stood financially before the forensic audit. So again, it's going to help us understand not only if something was done in a criminal activity was done, but where we stand financially as a city.
Okay, got a call. Call you on the Breeze radio station. Good morning.
Good morning. I requested that we have had a presentation in February. That was supposed to be a presentation update on the forensic audit in March. I talked to the auditors. It was supposed to be in March. They haven't shown up yet. Now, for the next council meeting, I have it on the agenda for a presentation, an update on the forensic audit by those forensic people. They're going to be here for the next agenda, okay?
Wow.
And, okay, and in addition to that, I have also on the agenda on the Texas Municipal League personal liability of council members. What's the effect of personal liability of council members? That's going to be on the next agenda.
Wait a minute. Personal, what is that again?
Edison Square, majority of the council members broke the law when they built those apartments on Edison Square. They broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Wow.
The legal fees right now is potentially over $100,000. What I got the Texas Municipal League to come and explain personal liability. What does that mean? When you get outside of your capacity as an elected official, you have to compensate for the losses to the taxpayer. So the citizen is going to have an opportunity to recover every dime of those legal fees from the council members that violated the state law and building those duplexes. They violated the state law. They brought on to the council and they approved it. A petition by a private developer brought it on. With the effect of that, they delegated city business. You cannot delegate government. The city attorney warned them about that.
All right.
But they did it. They did it anyway. Okay?
All right. Well, is
that's personal liability. That's what triggered the lawsuit.
All right. Well, listen, did you have a comment or question for any of the candidates here, Kevin Christopher, Councilman
I'm hearing this comment all the time. You know, we do a lot of things. We run the city. We have issues and things going on in parallel. What these new candidates, what do they mean by moving the city forward? The city has been moving forward in spite of the weight and the opposition that comes on board by special interest people. Mm-hmm. What's meant by moving the city forward?
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate your comment. Thanks for listening. All right. Now, I know there's some other things like economic development, and you talked about the budget status. What's your thinking, the general question, downtown development? There's the Simmons water loss and meter replacement program. Councilman, you're still on council now. Maybe you guys may have some insight on that. We talked about streets and drainage and sewer repair. There's a new bus set up in town. I think Greyhound is downtown on Proctor Street. Maybe you can share some information about the Downtown Development Plan in association with the Economic Development Corporation. That's Lamar State College that are building homes. Maybe you guys can share some insight on that.
Well, I'll share a little insight on it. Well, the downtown redevelopment, I have been supported in the housing, EDC housing, affordable housing. Mm-hmm. That project is in place where we're building housing for citizens, and they're gonna pay for the home. They're gonna be financed through finance, banking, and et cetera.
Yes.
So this is something, putting some rooftops near downtown, which will make things look a lot better downtown also. I was also involved in the education part of Lamar State College for as building the dormitories. That's a plus for the Lamar University, where we have students living on campus now, where we can have a flow of people supporting certain businesses that's to develop downtown. So the education part is looking well, and putting houses downtown is looking pretty good. Yeah. We just did the People's Park. That's a park that you can now, they're going to be showing movies in the park. So they have a list of showing movies in the park. So it's some things happening downtown, but we will. It will be better once we get a flowing of people traveling downtown, and I think that'll help with the students in the new affordable housing.
Candidate Kevin Christopher and candidate Harold Doucette, what are some of the high points? What are some of the things that kind of aggravates you, or you think that really need to be getting a move on if you're elected? What are the top kind of issues on y'all's agenda?
I think that personally, for me, I would like to see, once we get the inner workings of the city going, because right now the city's just in turmoil inside. Once we get the inner workings of the city going and get things flowing like they're supposed to, I would like to see us move outside, start doing these drainage projects, get people comfortable. Once we get the citizens comfortable, where they're not all up in arms and upset, and settle back down, then I would like to see doing these projects. Like, everything is just in rot. I mean, we just let everything just go in decay around here. Mm-hmm. That Rose Hill Manor project has been sitting, and we've been talking and talking and talking, and until it's just going to fall in. It's going to cave in. Mm-hmm. At one time, it was at $800,000, and now it's at $1.5 million. We need to just fix it. You know, there's tourism money. Let's just take this tourism money, put some money with it. Once we get enough money going, let's fix it, you know, and do something with it. You know, all the headlines coming out of Port Arthur is just about decay. Let's have some good headlines coming out of Port Arthur. All right, let's move downtown. Let's do something with the Sabine Hotel. The center of downtown is a dilapidated hotel. That's the tallest building in downtown. Mm-hmm. Right. Let's take it down. It's going to cost $4 million to take the Sabine Hotel down. Let's put $2 million in September in the budget to take it down, and $2 million in October to take it down. That's $4 million. Mm-hmm. You know, once we get going. It may be 5 years down the road, but let's do it. Let's stop talking and looking at stuff, and let's finally do something. Mm-hmm. Let's do a project. Let's look at something long-term that's going to bring some economic development to downtown, some real economic development downtown. Let's look at a Riverwalk project maybe in 20 years from now to be complete. You know, a 2-mile, 5-mile Riverwalk project like San Antonio. There's no telling what this town could be in 50 years. Mm-hmm. Let's leave something here for future generations. You know, you put a hole in the seawall, there's no telling what this place could be. You know, I come from a place that I come from Chicago. Yes. All right? And, you know, back in the late 90s, you may not realize this or not, but back in the late 90s in downtown Houston, they used to have Grand Prix races in the middle of downtown. You can't do that now.
No, I don't think so.
And all it took was a dream. So let's do something.
Got a call on there right quick. Thank you, Kevin. Call you on the Ridge Radio Station. Good morning. Good afternoon now.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing fine. You're with Kevin Christopher, Councilman Raymond Scott Jr., and former Councilman Harold Doucette.
I know, and I have no issue with those three gentlemen. Very, very happy to have them. Hopefully we can get Mr. Doucette back on the council, and maybe Mr. Christopher too.
All right.
My one question is this. This is really a statement question, whichever. I must say this. There's an old adage, you get what you pay for. And in this case, you get what you vote for.
Yeah.
In the past, we haven't gotten very much for our votes. I would appreciate it so much if you could try to encourage Ms. Hamilton to come to your radio station.
Well, Carla, what we have done real short, we made calls to those folks. I did it personally, left cell phone messages to them. I called the city's numbers that normally would not answer or would leave. In fact, some of them were to different people, but I left messages anyway, and then I had their cell phone numbers and made calls to those cell phones. Mm-hmm. So that's as much as I can do as, you know, in the radio business. We don't go hunting and tracking folks down, but
she really needs to come in and explain the statement she made about people in Port Arthur not being hired because of domestic violence. Maybe she misspoke. Maybe we misunderstood. But she has got to explain
question too. You know, you have your Port Arthur News, and you would think that when they do write these reports, those are some of the things that should be mentioned or you know, reestablished so that we can find out if, you know, those persons have misquoted themselves or misstated. But we provide a platform that's free. And as you can see, these folks take their time. They answer the questions deliberately. They feel that's what they believe, what they needs to happen. So sometimes folks don't want that kind of time because then they'll really have to answer the question.
She really needs, this is one question she needs to answer.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not going to hold you anymore. I just wanted to make that statement, okay?
Okay, thank you for calling. Thank you for listening to the Breeze Radio.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
You all guys have any comment to the caller? No response. Okay, Mr. Ducey, you indicating maybe some hot spots, some things that you felt like you needed to really let folks know about for this election process.
Well, you know, it goes back to, like the caller said, and we keep alluding to the election.
Okay, let's take a call right quick. Caller, you on the Breeze Radio?
Yes, sir. Let's get real here. I'm not a young man who's KSAP. They ain't done that thing in a long time. But the infrastructure really needs fixed. We got a street out there that's sitting at 2 years. You put half of the street and then you let it sit back a bit. What's the problem? You see, the thing about it, we need to get people in positions on that city council that's going to help the community. I work with Pipe 30 and I got a pipe behind my house that's 90 years old. Concrete store? It been like 1935. But you would people don't understand what it is. That, okay, Madison Square, you talking about the money. It was 1,000, you can close it. But you raise it. So, what are we talking about? The things that we support, I mean, I understand they're working hard, they're doing what they got to do. But the infrastructure, you know, the lighting is bad in this town. You go downtown Proctor, where the locals go to school at. You can pick a pillow over. You walk one block, you have a flashlight, and come out your back of your house. But that means shooting will be in there, you have a lot of money there. That's all I have to say, bye.
All right. Thank you for your call, caller.
Yeah, once again, you said.
And that sounds like frustration from another resident who's saying they need change.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Well, you know, I always say it on my show. I tell people all the time. I responded to a person's social media last night. Everybody want to try to say what's wrong, and they shoot shotgun. You know,
blame everybody.
Right. Well, they shoot a shotgun. They say I'm gonna hit everybody, and but they're hitting innocent bystanders. They're hitting people who they should be supporting. And the reason they can't shoot the rifle and aim at a specific person, because they don't know. They have not been involved in what's happening. They just talk and have no clue. Then you get candidates running, start saying things. It sounds good, but if you understand government, it ain't going to work. It's not how it works. And you're not really bringing solutions because you don't understand how it works. So we get where we're just going in circles, and people keep talking about who they want to elect and who they end up electing, who they like, the friends, the families, and they get in there, and then someone telling them how to do it because they don't want to take the time to learn and do the research, and above all, they don't hold people accountable.
All right, that's a good point. Caller, you on the Breeze Radio Station. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and certainly want to thank all of the candidates, Mr. Christopher, Mr. Doucette, Mr. Scott, and of course you, Mr. Mosley, as being a former city councilperson. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
You all entered a difficult situation that remains difficult and has been difficult for decades, which brings me to my question. You know, you all mentioned about the 20-year plan, which really seems like a 40, 60-year plan, and it seems as if though the faces have changed, but the issues have remained the same, way back to the Sadler days. The emphasis on the growth of area there east of Stadium Road on Proctor Street that seems like an abandoned wasteland. And the question is what's really going on? And I understand this annexation suggestion, which really makes no sense, because in taking the tour, there are lots of streets off the main thoroughfare that have not been repaired. And it's been 10 years since I've been on some of these streets, and they're in worse shape than they were 10 years ago.
Okay, Colin, what you have a specific question or comment you'd like to make in addition to that?
In their opinion, what are the underlying factors? Are there other movers and actors here? Because some of this is making no sense. That you've got all these changed spaces, different cooks in the kitchen, and it's the same old soup on the stove.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your call, Colin. We'll see if we can get these candidates to answer. Appreciate your call.
Well, that goes to what I mentioned in the beginning of the show, whereby people want to run for office, and
hold your call, Colin, just a minute.
And you have people who are supporting them and providing the financial support, and then when they get in office, instead of them learn what it takes, what the problems are, and bring solutions to the table, they're now responding to issues people bringing to them that supported them. And their focus is no longer on what they ran for and what they should be doing, is now pleasing people. Let's say payback or staying good with them, so next time around they could do this for me again.
Okay, Carl, you on the brief?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to go ahead and thank you and the brief for allowing our candidate to get an opportunity to go out and speak. Second of all, I want to thank Mr. Doucette, put up into this before. And Mr. Scott is in my district, so we definitely pull it for him. I don't know that much about Mr. Christopher, but I want to change the subject just a minute. I would like to know how in the world, with 5 refineries and the road supposed to be coming in the port office, that we are allowed to have just one hospital. If they get on the board, the Scott is already there, so if Christopher got on the board, what would he do for the citizens of getting another hospital here? Because simple reason, something major happened in this city. Where would we be? Right now, because we get the hospital, it takes me 5 or 6 hours just to get a bed. So I'm hung up and see if would like to comment on that.
All right, appreciate your call. The question.
Yeah, that's that's private industry.
Right.
That's private industry. That's not much the city can do about that.
I think we as a community, have to come together with every entity feeling that that's needed, because basically that's going to be the private industry. And you're talking about working with private industry to bring these hospitals back. So, it's going to take a combination of every entity here. And that's what I keep talking about. It's about business and companies are based their money being invested based on if it's a need and not what you want.
Yeah.
And we probably we need another hospital, but that's basically dealing with the private industry, and that's a whole different separate thing there.
Well, you have to be able to understand what's happening around the nation. Okay. In reference to hospitals, hospitals cost a lot to operate, and what you find not in the city of Port Arthur, but Beaumont, not in just the cities in Texas, in other states, investors and developers are moving away from the hospitals. They come up with these clinics. You see them popping up. We've had about 4 or 5 have popped up here. We call it emergency care centers, okay? Because they are more efficient to operate, like St. Mary's opening one on 365. So the hospital business is like everything else that's happening here in America. Is no longer trying to cater to what it once was or what it was doing. It's adapting to trends, and their decisions are not based on people or what the needs of people are, but their decisions are being made on survival. You know, it's easy for someone to say we need same marriage should stay a hospital thing, but at the same token, if it's not operating and it's operating in the red, the people who are in control of it, at some point in time, is not going to be responsible. And they see that's something that our citizens need to really understand. And that's how government here is. We need to find out what things are and what is needed, but it's all about business at the end of the day, and everything is just not going to be given or going to be the way you want it to be, because the people footing the money, footing the bill, they have to think about survival and what's best. So this trend of hospitals are going away and these emergency care popping, it's not just in Texas, it's everywhere. Baptist Hospital right now is a conglomerate where 3 different entities have come together to form a cancer center, and because the hospital wasn't prospering. So, you know, when you start talking about citizens need to understand, this is not nothing council or city control. It's those people that got this money invested, and that now we always want to serve the citizen. We try to bring every hospital here. I'll put one on every corner, but it's just not going to happen with people not having the money. And this time it's kind of hard for hospitals, not just in Texas or Port Arthur. So citizens need to be involved in what's happening around the nation so you can understand. Is what's happening here any different than anywhere else? You know, we need to adjust and fire.
All right, great question. We can talk about qualified local contractors and businesses, tile removal. We got the operations center and street dumping, and mosquitoes infested, the whole works. Employee evaluation. I'm just trying to run a gamut of things here, so because we're running short on time. Maybe you can cover some of that. The LNG projects, what's going on out there? You know, what kind of things are we looking at? What is the possibility of folks getting jobs? Your position, you're thinking about the job situation for local people, local contractors. Why are we getting them? Why we're not getting jobs? Can we just go over some of that? Some of you have any idea? You have a position on that? The water loss that we're experiencing, we're making any progress with that Siemens water loss conservation program. We talked about the bus transportation business, Pleasure Island projects, because people want to see things happen on Pleasure Island. Are we anywhere near, in your position, what do you think that we need to be doing to get this stuff done? Your comments.
Man, nobody remember none of that. You done read 1,000 things. Hold on now. Hey, y'all, did anybody catch anything Flash said? Flash gave it all to us in a flash and want us to respond. Why we flash him out of here this morning?
I wish he stopped on citizen complaints.
That's where we're going, because that's what it is. Citizens' complaints. That's exactly what it is. A citizens' complaint. They want to know, and that's why we bring it up. Hopefully that the council members, prospective council members, will have an answer in addition to a sitting council member.
Okay, one thing I can speak on, Steve, is this. With the industrial jobs, LNG and industrial jobs, we are now, we have a committee, and I'm part of the committee, industrial committee. We are now meeting with plant managers. Mm-hmm. Okay?
All right.
Plant managers that makes decision about hiring people. We are also negotiating them put together data to show us when they hire Port Arthur residents. And this data must be given to, if it's not, then we as council members decided we need to take the next step. We need to go to corporate office. Mm-hmm. So you have a consistent negotiation and talking and discussion and letting these plant managers know that we are serious about hiring Port Arthur people. This is one of the reasons why I spoke against annexation, because we never want to give away the levy that we have for us negotiating jobs.
I see.
We charge them 100%, then they say what?
You can't tell me who to hire.
Can't tell me who to hire. So, but there's a consistent
Because there are some contracts out there like that. I think 1 or 2 contracts out there.
Everything now is right at, we're putting everybody at 80%. Viola. Yeah, Viola. But we've been working real hard to put everybody on the same. Because when I came on council, and you were on council, former councilman Deuce, they had contracts, just up and down. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now we're working very diligently to make sure everybody on the same level, and we're working with plant managers. This is the first time we've had plant managers come to the table. All right. That's this issue.
Let's take this call real quick. Caller, you on the breeze?
Yeah, let me explain something to you. Prairie A&M got the best engineering school. They're a branch of Texas A&M. They got the best engineering school. They got guys walking around. Y'all got engineers degree. I'm talking about on this side of town, and they have put in for jobs. We gotta think about stuff that's right here. They have more white buses. They got to get these people for $15 and $16 an hour. You see, no insurance. These contracts. That's what's messing up the youth environment. Thank you.
All right. Kevin, you had any comments about that or anything other than that what I mentioned about some of the contracts and commercial development? Because I'm sure you've heard folks saying that they just can't seem to get jobs. They're doing everything they can. They go to school. They get the certificates. They wait in line and wait to get called. Some folks go, and some folks say that they're overqualified or they're underqualified. It's almost one way or the other. Either you're overqualified or you're underqualified. You're not just right.
Yeah, it's just a stigma that's been attached to Port Arthur citizens. But, all we can do is just continue fighting like the council people have been doing, Councilman Scott and the others. But we just need to keep fighting.
We'll take the phone call. Talking to Mike.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Are you on the Breeze Radio?
Yes, Councilman Scott's approach. It's a correct approach. Annexation is not the answer. And he's correct. You're going to lose your leverage. I'll give you an example. Baytown.
There's a
Baytown has 100% annexation, okay? But their unemployment in Baytown is 11.2 or 11.3%. Now, they have to annex all the refineries, okay? Now, Port Arthur is 12%. So if you would think that annexation 100% in Baytown, you would think their unemployment rate would be in the single digits. So they lost their leverage on employment.
All right. Good analysis. Appreciate that. And I think not just analysis, that's probably fact. Gentlemen, you have any other comments you wanted to make on this? Because I know the issue that folks want their drainage fixed. They want the streets fixed. They want housing torn down. The number is area code 409-982-0247. Hit the Breeze radio station. Call you on the Breeze.
Quick question. Mr. Doucette did mention the national trends towards movement in cities and the investor and privatization and those issues. But also what goes on in a lot of those cities is gentrification. And so the question is, does Port Arthur have to follow those patterns? And if not, what is it that we can do to do it right in the city, since we are a city that has some self-determination? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you.
Well, the first thing we got to do is we got to first start governing and being accountable for our finances and making sure we're managing the money properly. Make sure that our city begin moving in the right direction. And what I mean by that, cleaning it up, fixing the streets, fixing your water lines. Once your city become attractive to outside investors, then you could start offering incentive to bring them here and get them to come. But the problem is, unless you are financially sound, you have a city council that is working together, a city council that understands how to govern, and you're managing your finances so that you can have something to offer, you're not going to get people to come in and invest money without an idea that they're going to make a profit. They don't bring it here just because we're asking. They bring it here not because we give them incentive. People need to understand, big businesses and developers do not care too much about an incentive. They have the money already. They're going to ask for the incentive, but they're coming here to make money. If there's not a potential to make money, you can't offer them no incentive and get them to come here. So if we want to break a trend and be an exception, we got to put ourselves in a position that we can offer more than just an incentive. We can let them know that you come here, you're going to have the business, you're going to profit, and you're going to be in a nice community. And everything is going to be looking out, and we're going to govern in a fashion that we can protect your interests also. So we need to understand, you talk about all these, the laundry list of things people have called and inquired about that you've gathered. At the end of the day, the council is the ultimate responsible entity to ensure that these things are done. And when you get people that run for office that are not willing to do, as you mentioned earlier, do research, prepare yourself, know how it works, and then come on and contribute and make a difference. But if you're not willing to work and you don't understand, how can you possibly make a difference? Why everybody say, well, these things have been talked about for 20, 30 years. How many people have been elected in the last 20, 30 years that had some type of background to say that they can oversee, they can care and take care of, and they know how to make decisions, and they know how to prepare, they know how to work with people? How many people have you elected that had the tools to allow them to be successful representing people? That's why you have council members saying, I'm not the voice of the people. I don't represent the people.
Oh, really?
That's why you have council members who come to a meeting when they want. That's why you have council members that if they don't feel they have the votes to do what they want to do, they don't show up for a meeting. Okay? And these same people that are calling, the people that are complaining, and the people who are talking, they don't have the time, they don't have the ability to say who is the problem. Get involved. They know they want to sit back, complain, and then all of a sudden they want to say, all of them, get new faces. New faces don't mean new different results, because that's all you've been doing for the last 30 years.
Okay, Carl, you're on the Bridge Radio. Thank you, former Councilman Doucette. Caller, go ahead. You're on the Bridge Radio.
Mr. Doucette, I understand what you're saying, but how can we trust councilmen when they get elected and we got some of them fighting against one another in City Hall?
Well, you don't know that, and no one can hold the citizen responsible for it.
Thank you.
And I agree 100%, but what I'm saying is the only way you know who and what, you have to be involved. You have to at least attend some meeting, or you can at least watch the meetings on TV, but identify the person that is not bringing nothing to the table.
Or just making sure you understand the issue was being discussed.
Correct.
And realize what side of the table each candidate is on.
There you go, because it's a lot of city business. If citizens watch the meetings and listen to what is being said, if they use the common sense approach, they'll know what's right and what's wrong, because government is for the people. Yeah. So whatever in the best interest of the people should be what's going to happen.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the Bridge Radio Station. We'll take the comment from Councilman Scott. Okay, caller, the thing is, and would you mind turning your radio down? The thing is, what you're saying is that when you are watching them on television, are you actually watching and listening for the issues? Then that will tell you why each council person may be as aggressively pursuing their idea or their issue on that side of the table. That way it will help you know who's for and who's against it and what's good and what's not as far as you're concerned. Are you not calling? Okay, you hung up. Okay,
Going back to
Councilman Scott?
Yeah, going back what you're speaking about, Mr. Moses. Again, I briefly quoted Dr. King earlier. You know, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. When you have people constantly making that same statement, when you are on council also, they make the statement, well, you're just bickering, you're arguing. You're disagreeing, but you have to focus on who's disagreeing on what and who stand for justice and who have a personal agenda.
Right.
That's not my concern that we disagree on council. My concern is that we stand for doing what's right for the citizens in this city.
Right.
Now, you can have unity. Everybody can go along and get along. Is that the kind of unity I'm for?
Yeah,
I'm not for that type of unity.
Everybody for it, I'll go for it too.
Because the good book says light and darkness can't walk side by side.
Wow.
So, hey, I'm not concerned about if I disagree or we argue about certain things. The thing that citizens need to understand truly is look at what we're discussing and what we make, what some people consider bickering, is not bickering, is making sure that citizens in the city are represented correctly and fairly.
Now,
that's what that's about.
Now, sometimes I think, Kevin, you may want to comment, but what I've seen in a lot of cases is that when people say we're bickering and arguing, and it has happened that some council members have called out other council members for doing that because they're so aggressive in their stance to say that if you vote for this, then know that this council person is voting against the right thing, or voting against what's fair, or voting against what's lawful. And they're trying to make the point that you need to look at that council person, because if they're voting against something that's against the law, then you need to make sure if you're going to vote for that person, you vote for somebody who's voting on unlawful issues.
Well, again, how many people say they're the voice of the people? You ask for people to vote for.
Well, that's what council members are going to say.
You're going to be the voice of the people.
Right.
I've been consistent while I've been on council. Okay. When the citizens, 26% of the citizens said no to Edison Square,